Okay, so welcome and good afternoon to the Arts of Civic Engagement information session for the 2022 cohort. Really happy to talk about this program. What we'll do today is do an overview of the Gephardt Institute and what we mean when we talk about civic engagement. We'll do a round of introductions. We'll do an overview of the Arts of Civic Engagement program, considerations before applying, talk through the application process, what to expect after you've applied, then talk about key components of the program and important dates to consider. And then we're joined by Colleen, who just went through the program this past summer and is here to answer questions and speak to her experience. So let's get started. The mission of the Gephardt Institute is to foster a vibrant culture of civic engagement throughout Washington University, catalyzed by engaged citizens, scholarship, and partnerships that advance the collective good. Our goals are to educate students for lifelong engaged citizenship, catalyze community partnerships that respond to community needs and priorities, infuse civic engagement throughout the WashU experience. And we see the Arts of Civic Engagement program as fitting pretty well into the first two, as we hope to bring in students and help them think about their role in community and the ways in which they can contribute to their communities, and then work with partner organizations in the St. Louis region. Okay, so what do we mean when we say civic engagement? I would say that just about anything could be civic engagement, as long as we're talking about engaging with your community, and that is broadly defined. It could be hyper-local, or it could be governmental systems or other institutions. And it can be formal. So a typical example of civic engagement is voting in your elections. You could be a poll worker. You could do poll watching. That is also an excellent way to be involved around elections. It could also be more informal, like helping a neighbor with their groceries or participating in actions or protests. It could be creating a piece of public art for folks to engage with. It could be serving in public office. Like, the list is pretty limitless. And it's just a commitment to promoting the quality of life in a community through both political and non-political processes. So as we talk about the intersection between arts and civic engagement, this quote by James Baldwin does a good job of talking to how art can illuminate things that we might not otherwise see or engage with. Okay, so who's in the room? So I will give a brief introduction of myself and then ask for the other folks that are in the room to do the same, using the prompt on the screen. So name, class year, and major, how you learned about the Arts of Civic Engagement program, and then one sentence to describe your dream internship this summer. And Colleen, since you've already been through it, feel free to share. You could either answer this question or you could share something else about your internship experience. So my name is Nicole Murphy. I work at the Gephardt Institute as the Community Engagement Coordinator, where one of my roles is to work with the summer fellowship programs. I'm very excited to get more involved with the Arts of Civic Engagement program this summer in particular. I really enjoy the deep relationships that the Institute is building with the partner organizations that participate in this program. And I will pass to Linda.
Oh, my name is Linda Duke, and I've been with Gephardt Institute just a couple of months. And my role is to help with the selection and recruitment process. So if students have any questions, I'm happy to answer those. And I will pass it over to Sonia.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sonia Sequeira. I am the new Associate Director of Community Engagement. I joined the Gephardt Institute last week. And so this is a learning process for me as well, and I'm excited to be a part of the summer fellowships.
Hello, I'm Colleen. I'm a junior here at WashU. I have my primary major is studio art. I have a second major in PNP and a minor in Latin American studies. I can answer the questions on the screen. I learned about ACE through, I was actually a Goldman Fellow the year before. So I was pretty acquainted with the Gephardt Institute, and I really liked the way that Goldman was run, and I enjoyed my time there. So I thought ACE would be a great opportunity for me too, since I'm interested in arts clearly, and also in public service broadly. So I guess to describe my dream internship for this summer, I think after working at CAM last summer and doing trauma-informed like art therapeutic work, I would love to do more art therapy work and maybe work in some sort of mental health clinic or something like that.
Yeah, that sounds like an excellent way to sort of deepen your work in that area. That's exciting. So an overview of the program, this will be the 4th year that we're running a cohort for arts as civic engagement. It's based on the deep traditions of arts as a powerful means of community expression. So as we talked about when we were talking about different forms of community engagement, art definitely intersects through a lot of those. The program seeks to support students becoming immersed in arts-based community engagement, progressing their professional development, and clarifying their career interests. Resident fellows receive $5,000 summer stipends for their work within their internships. Program goals. So we hope through arts as civic engagement to develop student leaders by identifying and honing professional skills, encouraging self-awareness, and guiding students toward preparedness for their careers. To support positive community impact by expanding community partner organizations' capacity through listening, student intern preparation and coaching, and conversation and opportunity for ongoing collaboration. And to foster student identities as St. Louis citizens through immersion in St. Louis, engagement and learning with local leaders, and reflection and dialogue with peers of diverse identities, backgrounds, and perspectives. Additionally, want to situate again that this is a platform for arts and community organizations to connect with the Institute, but to create these deep community relationships that we continue to return to further deepen impact in this area. So some key program elements. There are weekly seminars where as a cohort you come together and you receive some content, some skill building, professional development, share what's going on in your organizations, the work that you're doing provides a great opportunity to think critically and problem solve together, and for some peer-to-peer learning. There's neighborhood immersions where you visit parts of St. Louis, you meet with community members and local leaders, and they, through their voices, share about their parts of the St. Louis community. Again, one of the excellent parts of this program in terms of helping students think critically about the narratives that they've been told or that have been shared with them about St. Louis, and to get beyond sort of the immediate area of the university to provide some additional context into what's happening in the region. There's the internships with the partner organizations. There's also community events, which could be described as sort of typical things that you could do over the summer in St. Louis. So that in the past has included going to Cardinals games or seeing a show at the Muni, or last year we went to the Shakespeare Festival, which was really fun. And then there's also supervision or one-on-one meetings with the program leads to talk directly with fellows to think through, again, oh my gosh, to think through what's going on in their internships, and to problem solve and provide coaching, and to just generally get a better understanding of each fellow's experience in the program. So what I really like about the Arts to Civic Engagement program is that it works with the same organizations year after year, which for a lot of reasons, that's really great. It helps deepen the relationship with the partner organization, but it also allows for more of a transition between each of the internship summers, and allows for that work to be continued rather intentionally. And so we can see across the years the impact that's left by previous fellows and how other fellows are picking up what was done before and adding to it and deepening what has happened at the organizations. So for the program, we currently work with the Graham Museum of Black History, COCA, Shakespeare Festival St. Louis, and the Contemporary Art Museum. So the way that works is that selected resident fellows would be matched with one of the partner organizations, where they would be working on a particular project that the partner organization has identified as a priority for that summer. Just so we can get a better understanding of what this sort of looks like week to week, because there are the hours that you're expected to do at your internship, but there's also times that you come together as a cohort and do things together. So that includes those weekly seminars we talked about, those immersions, meeting with the program leads, and then there's site visits, where we go to the organization and we learn more directly about what students are doing and have an opportunity to hear from community partners about the progress that's happening over the summer. And then there's small group meetings that happen. So it's rather a lot. And so just want to be sure that folks have a clear understanding of sort of the internship component, but also this companion component where there is a lot of engagement required. So considerations before applying, again, there's a minimum of 300 hours with your partner organization, which shakes out to about full time over the summer. And then there's some wrap up that happens in the fall semester. If there are international students that would like to be a part of the program, definitely welcome you to apply, and we can follow up in terms of obtaining work eligibility for the summer. And then a general note on eligibility: the Arts Civic Engagement program is for rising juniors or rising seniors in good academic standing. And so for the application process, it's entirely online. You can go to the Gephardt website and find a cohort application hub, which will provide you with additional information in terms of what you should include in your application, how to link to the recommendation form. We do ask that you submit at least one recommendation, and then attach a resume that would particularly highlight your civic and community engagement. Those applications and recommendations are all due no later than Sunday, February 20th at 11:59 p.m. We will or can be flexible in terms of recommendations. If your recommender has an extenuating circumstance or they just can't get it in by that time, just make sure to communicate with us so that we can be sure to collect the materials that you need for your application to be considered. And then we also have a resource called drop-in sessions where previous fellows will be in attendance to help you think through any sort of last minute questions you have about the program, or more specifically, think through and be a sounding board for your applications. So folks can't help you write them, but they can definitely listen to what you've written and be, again, a sounding board and a thought partner for how you might consider your responses to the essay questions. After you've submitted your application, what you can expect to happen. So we will have pulled together a selection committee made up of faculty and staff from across campus. They will meet to review your application materials. And after that meeting, you should receive, if you are moving forward, you should receive the opportunity to sign up for a 30-minute interview. Interviews would be held Friday and Saturday, March 4th and March 5th between 9 and 6 p.m. And then from there, the selection committee would meet again. And if you were to receive an offer to be a part of the program, you would be notified by Wednesday, March 16th. Some important dates to keep in mind: there are some spring components to this program, mainly in terms of onboarding. So there's some spring trainings that happen on Saturdays in April. And then there's a retreat right before internship hours would start in June. And then there would be time for you to have an onboarding or orientation with your organization. And so now we're joined by Colleen, who can answer any questions that folks might have about what it's like to be a resident fellow. And so I'll open it up for questions.
So I can go first. Colleen, after participating in both kind of the Goldman program as well as Arts and Civic Engagement, can you talk a little bit about what kind of worked well uniquely for each one and your experience with it?
Yeah, I definitely can. So both like kind of had similar structures in that it was like I am with the Gephardt doing these things of like immersion sessions and stuff like that, and then but like most of the time is spent with my the institution that I'm interning it with, or like the organization or whatever. So I would say I definitely had a different Goldman experience than most people, because I was with Invest STL in the time right when COVID happened. So it was entirely virtual. Rug was kind of pulled out from under all of us. But it was I still felt like it was fruitful. I still felt like I gained something I learned more about St. Louis, both through Invest STL and through like my sessions with Gephardt. I think like being in St. Louis and being able to go places when I was with Arts and Civic Engagement was like a huge game changer. I really loved like everywhere we went to see like local art. Like we saw multiple, well, we saw Shakespeare at the park in Forest Park, and then we also saw it on Cherokee, and that was amazing. One of my fellow residents, Sophie, she was at Coca, and there was like an American ballet theater thing at Forest Park, and she invited me to go, and we went to that. We went to CAM. Like I think that was probably one of the biggest things that really like shaped my summer. And then another like big difference was the continuation into the fall. And I think it really allowed me to like follow a project all the way through, and to just build a stronger relationship with my bosses who were wonderful and who were so supportive. I'm not sure if I answered the question entirely, but those were two big things.
You did. Yeah, that was a great kind of overview of some of the differences.
Colleen, can you talk a little bit more about what your kind of day-to-day work was, what the workplace environment was like?
Yeah, so I was at the Contemporary Art Museum. I think I said that before. So we were still / they are still in the transition between COVID and like being fully back in work. So I wasn't going in every single day, but I was working every day of like the work week. So on days when I would actually go in, I would take the bus down to Grand, and just it was like a 2-minute walk. I live off campus, and then I'd just be in like the upstairs office. It was kind of cool to like go up those stairs and walk into the thing that's like staff only. So yeah, I would work on my computer. It was still socially distanced, but like I would have team meetings with the learning and engagement department, which is who I was interning with. I'd have like check-in meetings with my bosses. I would do mostly independent work. It was a lot of like self-directed, study wouldn't be the word, but self-directed work, I guess. So yeah, I was doing, I guess I can elaborate on like the actual work I was doing, but so in their learning and engagement department, I was focused on trauma-informed research and seeing how we could make CAM a more trauma-informed and a more accessible space. Part of this was developing the relationship with the local VA hospital, but COVID kind of complicated that. Part of it was like performing an audit of the space and saying like, these are things that the museum can improve on to be more accessible and be more trauma informed to any kind of visitor. And then part of my work was developing a small public workshop that I was able to execute, I guess, at the end of my term. I think I might have cut that a little bit.
We lost you a little bit at the end. Your connection went out.
The last part was just, can you hear me now?
It's still a little in and out. Try again.
Okay. Is it better now? Okay, awesome. The last part was just executing like a public workshop based on what I had learned through the summer on my trauma-informed research, and just kind of making a space for the public to like process the the trauma of like these past 2 years of pandemic and just have an opportunity to make some art. So really it depends on, that was like my thing. That was what they wanted me to do that summer. And it was incredible. Like I'm so glad that I was at that place at that time where that was what they wanted me to do. But it's certainly something that can change every year, but like developing on the same sorts of themes of community engagement and potentially in the future trauma sensitivity, since that's been started.
Yeah, could you speak to your experience as a cohort?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my cohort was awesome. We were learning a lot from each other, from seeing each other's organizations and the different ways that they functioned. It was fun to just talk with each other and like realize that these are all arts institutions, but they're all very different, and the people who work at them are different. And we all had different experiences that were all good. So yeah, it was interesting to learn about kind of like the mechanics of what goes on behind arts institutions. I didn't realize before last year that that was like how art museums worked, and the different roles that people had to have in them to keep them running. And other than that, they were just very thoughtful, interesting, kind people. Like I said, we went to like some arts things around St. Louis over the summer, and that was great. And we had like, I think it was bi-weekly meetings with our the director, I guess, of the program, Roseanne Weiss, who offered so much support. So it was really, yeah, it was incredible. I was really, really glad to be able to like meet with those people and kind of pick their brains about how they felt about art, and how they felt about their jobs and what they see their future careers looking like.
That's great, thank you. Are there any other questions for Colleen? Or is there anything that you haven't talked about, Colleen, that you think would be important for prospective resident fellows to know?
I think something important to note is that you don't have to be like an art person. Like you have, obviously, like you have to enjoy art. Like I don't really know why you would apply to this if you weren't an arts enjoyer, but I was the only art like primary major person. Everybody else was like an art second major, an art minor. Enzo like wasn't even an art major. He was just interested in, he just liked music, which is so valid. And it was awesome to like get from people with all those different perspectives. So I would say like if you feel passionate, like if you hear the name and that sounds interesting to you and that seems like something you'd want to learn more about, I would say just go for it.
What stands out for you as maybe the most valuable takeaway from this experience, or something that surprised you the most?
Give me 1 second to think about that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. While Colleen's thinking, I will just reiterate Colleen's last point, which is that you do not need to be in the Sam Fox School for this to be a program that could be for you. It really is an exploration of how art meets civic engagement. So if you enjoy art or you want to engage with community, and do any of that sort of work, and you want to learn about St. Louis, and sort of do a deep dive in how that community exists in this particular context, then yeah, definitely this program is for folks that where those interests are aligned, regardless of major.
Yeah. So to answer that question, I think one of the most surprising things for me, I think honestly, was like how close I felt to the fellows. We were only meeting like once every 2 weeks and like going to a thing, or like we would get coffee with Roseanne. But still, like those experiences I remember as like very central parts of my summer. And I wouldn't have thought that they would be. I would have thought that maybe like, yeah, they would be great, but they wouldn't be like some of the most important things that happened. I think I've just been, I think like this, again, like being in this place in this time, it's really just enhanced my love for St. Louis, which that's not unexpected. I already loved St. Louis before. But like just being with people who share those same values and being able to experience that is really fruitful.
Absolutely. I love to hear how people love St. Louis. We're doing our job right. So if there are no more questions or closing thoughts, I will wrap up here by saying that if questions do pop up for folks, you can either contact me directly and we will follow up with some information, including some of the key dates that you saw during the presentation. Or you could contact Linda, who introduced herself earlier, using the email address seen on the screen here, stlsummerfellowships@wustl.edu. All right, thanks, folks, for your interest in this program. I'm really excited for 2022.